Hello. All right. I was just waiting to make sure that we didn't leave anyone out. Okay. All right. So what we've got, I'm just going to do the bottom lip now, and then we'll get the contour of the chin, the cheekbones, and the ears. So, like I was saying before, with your bottom lip, it's not just a simple. You don't just make a line from the outside corners of your mouth. You have to actually see how thick that is and what kind of curve this makes. Um, and I can see that the bottom area of this lip, my lip here, where does that, where does the bottom of your lip, where is it placed in conjunction to like your nose and your top lip? So for me, you've got this with your lip, it comes forward, and then it's got this portion of your lip that is most furthest forward here uh, is almost like the it flattens out the curve and then it curves back again towards your cheek. So this bottom edge of the lip here is what's furthest forward. So for me, um, it makes I've got these two corners here where the
Mhm.
receding edge meets the front, and I can actually even measure that. This bottom corner of the lip is basically right in the middle of that nostril, so I can make another couple of verticals, and it gives me some good reference points about how to now put in that contour of the bottom lip, because all of this area is what's going to recede, and then this is the flat edge, and then it'll recede back. So it gives me, by having those verticals, gives me a really good reference. Now it's maybe looking at kind of using your intuition, like what kind of angle is that going back here, how thick you're going to make that. Now for me, I mean, I've got a pretty thick upper lip too, so it's not going to be as drastic. So I'm just looking at this contour now. I'm gonna put that in. And that's why by using the H pencil, you can start off with a light contour, and you can adjust it as you start to see things. So I might have made that too large. I can always erase it. But you'll see that it's not just a simple line. It recedes back towards your cheek here, and then it has that very distinct front edge. So don't forget, we haven't even shaded anything. I haven't even shaded anything around the eyes. I haven't even put the nostrils in. Now, I will want to put the nostrils in, I think, at this point. Um, Maybe we'll wait on that. We'll talk about that in a second. Now that I've got the mouth here with these two endpoints, now we can start to talk about where does the chin sit and how do our cheekbones sit to make the edge of our face. We've got all these features in here, and now we need to kind of accurately put in contour. So the way I'm starting is I'm looking at the distance between the edge of my eye and then where the point of the ear starts. Like, how wide is this distance here? How wide is that? First of all, it's not that wide. If you can even check and see that the distance between the corner of your eye to the point of your ear here, this distance is, relatively speaking, going to be probably the same distance, if not narrower than the width of your eye. So you could even, yeah, it's actually shorter. The distance between the outside end of your eye and where your ear, the point of your ear, um, from what I'm seeing here, this distance is a bit, just a touch shorter than the width of my eye. So if you think of how wide you've drawn your eye, that distance to your ear, because what's happening is it's going around the curve of your skull here. So it's actually receding into space, which means that this distance is going to be shorter than the width of your eye. And that's always what I keep in mind when I'm doing this. So when we look at our ear, if you were to take your pencil and make a horizontal from the center of your eye outward, you can see that your ear actually, there's quite a bit of your ear that rests kind of above your eye. So if you look at if you're looking straight on, if you take the top point of your ear and you hold your pencil horizontally, you'll see that it actually cuts across quite a bit above the eye. It's the same on this side. So if I'm looking straight on, and I'm just finding the horizontal, the top point of my ear, it's just above my eye. So I'm gonna first find that shorter distance from the outside edge of the eye. I can now start to make this shape of this ear here. And notice it goes up to a point and then curves around. So I'm gonna make sure that that top point of the ear rests above my eye. So I can almost do it on this side as well. Now I'm running out of room on my piece of paper, but you'll see what I mean. So the thing with the ears is you want to make sure that you're aware of where the bottom of the ear cuts across the face. So these points here. And you'll see that if you take a horizontal, they kind of sit right in at your nostrils. So I tend to just draw a horizontal right across. It gives me a good idea, at least a reference point, because you can always change this up. You can see how at the top, these top points are resting above my eyes. And then I've made this horizontal, so I've got a good idea now as to where I can place these ears. So I'm going to sketch in the contour of the ears, which everyone's ear is different. So you have to make sure that the tops of your ears, the top upper portion, has these distinct curves back, and it kind of flows down, at least mine do, to this piece. And they have this like really, this kind of fun angle to them. So one might be a little larger than the other, so I can erase that though. Maybe I don't have quite enough room. But now I want to start. So I've drawn those. You see I can, the angle here, they angle in slightly because they kind of flare out at the top and they angle in. Now, if you can't quite get those, that's all right, because you can start to draw the contour of your face a bit more now. Where if we look at our face, if you even just touch your face, you have your cheekbones. Your cheekbones kind of come out here, and then your jawbone is here. So you basically just have like a ton of muscle between the cheekbone here, which is the base of what holds your eye in place. And there's muscle, and then you've got this jawbone that comes back out. So I'm looking at my contour, and I see it flares out slightly, goes back in slightly, and then the jawbone comes down to my chin. So what that means is your contour of your face is probably you're going to see a little bit of a difference as your cheekbone, which rests right here, comes out just a little bit. Some people may not. Our faces are different. We have different facial structures. Now, I'm just going to start to sketch in something pretty basic here. You will have this point where your jawline, you can start to see a slight bit of the jawline, and everyone's jaw is going to be slightly different. But for me, usually, I tend to just find a quick angle to your nostril, where my jawline kind of starts back here. And it's a little awkward because you're looking straight on, so it flattens all this out into basically like one contour. And so this line here comes down to my chin, and the chin is important, but you're going to basically, for me with my chin, I can see I have this very distinct point here with the front face of my chin, just like with my lips. I've got this point, and you can, once again, do a vertical measurement. Where does this point of my chin cut through the mouth and the eye? You can make a vertical there. And I'm going to make this vertical go all the way through the whole face. So it cuts off, it goes right kind of on the inside of the eye. The inside it's the outside part of my mouth is still outside of that. And so you can even measure from the bottom of your lip to the bottom of your chin. Compare that width. You can compare that to your nose. You can compare it to your size of your eye. You can compare it to the size of your ear even. So those two. From the bottom lip to the bottom of my chin, it's larger than this area. So this area between your nose and the top of your lip, it is shorter than the area, obviously, on my face anyway, of the area from the bottom lip to the bottom of my chin. So if that's that large, and I've got a massive butt chin. Some people will not have to draw this, but I will have to draw this major butt chin there. So I've made my, you can see in my drawing that this area is shorter than this area. On my face, this area between the bottom lip and the chin is larger than this area. And if you really strain your eyes too, you can see on the contour of your face, sometimes you can see a little bit more of a swelling here where your kind of the mouth meets the edge of your face. I've got just a little bit of that on mine. I can see that I have my chin here cuts in front of this cheek here, so I'm going to just make that obvious. And so on this other side of my face, the way I'm seeing it, it kind of just has like this big fat curve kind of a thing. So all the shadows. So I'm not shading that, so it's a little harder for me to see the contour. So you'll just take some time when you're looking at the contour here. So it looks a little weird, but it's mostly because the reason why it looks so odd is because we haven't really started shading anything. we're just drawing the outline here. So once I start shading that, I'll probably change some of my proportions. But at this point, now we'll just do a quick look at the top of the head, and you'll see that you've got hair, your hair comes. But the main thing, and it kind of is more of a pretty basic outline here. This will be more important when we move on to the next one. Just make sure we can get into the shading of the hair on Thursday. So really, I mean, for these sketches, I'm looking mostly to see how you do these types of measurements. So I know it kind of looks a little bit awkward, but it's because it's just the sighting and the measuring of it. We haven't started shading any of this yet. So in some ways, without being able to shade it, it looks a little awkward. One thing I will get into right now, though, is your nostrils. So if I were to look at my nostrils, the tip of your nose here, it comes forward and it curves around, which means that it's not just, you don't just make like a circle, just like with your eyes. Your nostrils have a very distinct shape to them. It's kind of an oblong shape, but for us visually, there's this line here from the tip of your nose. It goes up, then it curves back and around, and then it has a swoop, at least for my nostrils. You'll see this too. Your nose is a distinct set of planes. You've got the bottom of your nose here, and you've got this front edge of your nose, and then the bottom edge of the nostril. So when you're drawing that contour of the nostril, you have to keep in mind that it's not just a simple shape. It's got the bottom of your nose, it's got a plane that goes back, and then a plane that comes down and back in. So in terms of the shape of the nostril, I'll use a darker pencil. There's the bottom of my nose. There's the plane that goes back. The plane that swoops down. And then comes back into the nose. So I'll draw both and I'll show you what I mean. There's the bottom of the nose. There's the plane that goes back into the nose to make that three-dimensional shape. And then it swoops back to curve at the nostril. So it's a little off. I got to change I got to make the left nostril bigger. But the key being is that with these nostrils, there's the bottom of the nose and the plane that goes back. That creates the three-dimensionality of it, and then it swoops. So your nostril.
I have a question, please.
Yeah.
How did you draw the face from like down? The chin?
Oh, the chin?
Yeah, and the chin and the face from the bottom, like. It's hard. I did it right now. I didn't know how to do it.
Well, yeah, that's how it is. With this, the chin here, for one thing, I have these corners, these corners of my chin.
Okay.
Where it's like, just like with the lips, this is the front face of the chin. I found some verticals. I'm always finding verticals as to where the chin cuts in front of the eyeball, if it's like how far it is from the nose. So for me, I'm able to find verticals because I have a very distinct chin down here. And then also, I noticed that the space from the bottom lip to my chin is actually larger than the space from the bottom of my nose to the top of my lips. So I know that this area is larger than this area. And I know that these points here on my chin, by doing the verticals, taking my ruler and my pencil, I can see, I can make a vertical through the whole face, and it makes a nice reference point as to where the chin sits. And then from that point, you can just you're basically just following the edge of your face, like find the angle with a ruler as to what angle your cheek makes. Sometimes you can use your nose and you can find kind of where the cheek, sometimes there's a little change here in the contour, and I use my nose to kind of find that angle where these little bumps are. And you'll find that your cheekbone, there's a little bit of a change here because your cheekbone rests kind of underneath your eye right here, like where your skull would be. So for the chin, it's really about finding the outside corners of your chin. Where do those intersect the mouth and the eye? You can set up really nice reference points there and just determining how much space is between your bottom lip and the bottom of your chin versus your top of the lip and the bottom of your nose. That's really key there. Okay. So the last thing I want to do with the frontal, and notice how I was able to use the B pencil and really put in those nostrils there. So after you've done all this measuring with your H pencil, take the darker B pencil and really fill in the contours there.
Teacher, could you repeat how you do the eyes, please?
What do you need to know? You want me to do
How
everything again?
No, not everything, just the measurement. That's it.
So the measurements for the eyes, at least when so if you're looking at your face here, one thing to keep in mind is measure, measure the width of your nose using either your pencil. You can actually just hold your pencil out, and using your thumb here, you can find the width of your nose. I can actually compare that to the width of my eye. So most of the time, the width of your nose, you'll need to compare, at least it's easiest for me, is I compare how wide is my nose compared to the width of my eye. And for me, they're very close. They're really similar. Like the width from the end of my eye to the end is very close to the width of the end of my nostrils. Now that's the width. Now how to place them, where do you place them in terms of the face? That's where you need to find what kind of triangle does the bottom of your nose make with the edges of the outermost points of the eyes, because there's always a triangle that forms here from this point to this point, from this point to this point, and obviously you can make a horizontal line across here. Now the triangle that mine makes, they're very equal sides. Now some people may have, it might be your eyes might be set a little higher or a little wider, some might be set a little lower, your eyes might be a little bit larger, but the way I do it is I literally take either a ruler or a pencil, and you can find the angle from the bottom of your nose to the outside edge of your eye, this angle. So for me, if I'm looking at it, it creates almost a triangle just like this. Pretty close to like what we call an equal-sided triangle, equilateral. So my nose, bottom point of my nose being the bottom of the triangle, the outside edge of my eyes being the outside edges of these triangles, and then you can find your verticals to see how wide the nose is and how far inside your eyes come. So it always starts with there's triangle that forms between the bottom of your nose and the outside points of your eye. That's how I started off. I've got this triangle here that I'm still using, and this bottom triangle for the mouth. So those two triangles are what set off a lot of the proportions for where your eyes are. Does that make any sense? Finding that triangle from the bottom here to the outside edges. And it's going to be different for everybody. Okay, so there's still the top of the head and the inside of the eyes. And I think on Thursday, we're going to go over how to actually shade the inside of the eyes. But now I want to go over, we spent so much time on that one. But I want to go over now, we're gonna shift to the next sketch here. I know it's taken a while, but it should go a little bit faster when you do it on your own time if you are. But we're gonna talk about 3/4, like when you turn your head to have a slight angle. Basically, you can see already the difference is that you can only see one ear. You still see both eyes, but you see a lot less of this side of your left side of your face. And my nose now has a very distinct angle, and you only see a little bit of that nostril. So if this was the frontal portrait, this is frontal. This is called a 3/4 portrait. And the main difference is that when you're looking, first of all, you have to hold your head in the same place, which can be tricky. You'll be thinking about the same thing. So once again, I tend to always start with my nose, mostly because it is the central feature of the face. And by measuring your nose properly, you're able to measure where the corners of your mouth hit and where the corners of your eyes rest. So I always start with the nose because from that you can measure everything else. So first things first, I'm going to start with my nose. And if I'm looking at my nose in a quarter view, essentially the front of my nose here overlaps most of the nostril on the left side. So I'm going to start with, I'm finding this angle right here of my nose here. By finding this first angle, being able to draw this first edge here, that's going to set everything up. That's what I'm trying to find right now, is the angle here to the tip of my nose and how it goes inside. So you can even look, this is the bottom of my nose is right here. If I take a vertical, you see how that cuts across everything? It's kind of awkward. Bottom of my nose here meets the top of my nose about right there. So I'm just looking now, because that's the whole thing, is you have to find these angles here. I'm drawing right now, I'm drawing this edge here from the bottom here. See, this is the tip. I'm drawing all of this under here to this bottom part. And you have to, I have to constantly move my face back into place. So I'm going to try to do this a little bit quicker because we spent so much time on that first one. We got to kind of speed this one up a little bit. So I'm looking at this angle here. And that's all that it starts with, is just that angle. That's the outside angle of my nose right there. And you can see the bottom point of the nose. If you take a vertical, it's pretty accurate to where that vertical, it hits across the top of the nose. So I'm starting off this whole drawing by drawing the contour of my nose and just taking that vertical where it cuts across. The top of my nose. Okay. So the next thing I can do with the 3/4 view is very similar to what we were doing with the frontal, which is you can also find, even in the 3/4 view, what is that kind of triangle that you make by the bottom of your nose to the outside edge of your eye. Now this time, you'll see that the two sides are very different. The angles are very different on these two sides. So the outside edge of my eye, which is right here, to the bottom point of my nose, that's pretty steep. That's a steep angle compared to this angle. See how different these two angles are? One's like this, the other is like this. So I'm just gonna make some of those angles that I found. So if I find that angle versus this angle, so I haven't found yet how high up they are. I'm just making, I think that's a little bit steeper. So all I'm doing now is just finding, I keep hitting stuff. So I'm using the bottom of my nose as the basis. So you can see on the one angle is a bit steeper than the other. That triangle is not exactly the same. Now, how high up are my eyes compared to this? Now where do I put this triangle? Like, where do I make the top of it? So I've started by making the nose here, and the left side of your face on the 3/4, it's going to be much smaller than everything else. You see so much more of this side of your face. You can almost make two different rectangles. So if I'm looking straight at the mirror, look at the tip of your nose. How much space is there between the tip of your nose and the outside of your cheek? The tip of your nose and the outside of your cheek. It's not very much, is it? It's pretty small, actually. So the shape I'm trying to draw here is this from my eyebrow to the edge of my nose. I'm trying to draw the shape of the left side, the upper left side of my face right now. And I'm going to do this. It's not going to be completely accurate, but it's going to give you an idea. Something with the 3/4 view portrait is that now the contour of your face. It's really interesting. So all I'm trying to draw right now is this shape. Because it's smaller. It's much smaller than this other side of my face. And make sure I keep my face in the right spot. I keep changing it. It keeps messing up my measurements. So that left side of my face, you can see it's going to be much smaller than everything else that I draw on the right side. That's the entire left side of my face right there. And that's because it's in the 3/4 view. The biggest thing to remember is that when you're doing the 3/4 view, the left side of your face is going to be